The mainstream media's stranglehold on presidential access has officially been broken, and the meltdown is glorious to behold. Press Secretary Karoline Leavitt has just announced a historic shift in White House media policy that has the entire legacy media establishment in absolute panic mode. For decades, the White House Correspondents Association has functioned as a gatekeeper, deciding which journalists get access to the president. It's been an exclusive club dominated by left-wing outlets pushing the same tired narratives, but that system is now being dismantled. A federal judge has denied the Associated Press emergency motion for a temporary restraining order against Trump's new press policies, and as Leavitt explained, we want to ensure that everyone has a seat at that highly coveted table. The days of CNN, MSNBC, and the New York Times monopolizing presidential access are over, and frankly, with me on the case, they should be shaking in their overpriced loafers. And while the media elite are melting down over losing their privileged access, many Americans face a more serious crisis, skyrocketing heating costs. Just as Trump's administration is removing media gatekeepers, this incredible mini heater eliminates the middleman of expensive central heating. Americans will spend an average of $941 on heating this winter, more than their own holiday gifts. This portable heater delivers instant warmth to any room without preheating, just as Trump is delivering immediate media reforms. With adjustable heat levels, built-in safety features, and whisper-quiet operation, it's perfect for freedom-loving Americans tired of being controlled by systems that don't serve them. Visit StayWarmNow.com for up to 60% off with free shipping. You'll find it linked below. All right, folks, as you guys know, we now have official press credentials at the White House. We are getting constant updates right at the front of the line of everything that comes out of the White House. We are on the communications list. If you're following us on X, you will see the posts as they come out. Like, quite literally, as soon as a press release comes out, we post the information to our X account before we even publish anything on YouTube. So you got to make sure you're following us there. You will be ahead of the curve of anybody. Now, this is what just happened in the press room today, and it was groundbreaking. A huge news shakeup. Trump administration blows up the White House press corps. Press Secretary Karoline Leavitt announced a historic shift in White House media access, shattering the White House Correspondents Association grip on who gets access to question the president. Listen to this historic moment.
I am, as you all know, for decades, a group of DC-based journalists, the White House Correspondents Association, has long dictated which journalists get to ask questions of the President of the United States in these most intimate spaces. Not anymore. I am proud to announce that we are going to give the power back to the people who read your papers, who watch your television shows, and who listen to your radio stations. Moving forward, the White House press pool will be determined by the White House press team. Legacy outlets who have participated in the press pool for decades will still be allowed to join, fear not, but we will also be offering the privilege to well-deserving outlets who have never been allowed to share in this awesome responsibility. Just like we added a new media seat in this briefing room, legacy media outlets who have been here for years will still participate in the pool, but new voices are going to be welcomed in as well. As part of these changes, we will continue the rotation amongst the 5 major television networks to ensure the president's remarks are heard far and wide around this world. We will add additional streaming services which reach different audiences than traditional cable and broadcast. This is the ever-changing landscape of the media in the United States today. We will continue to rotate a print pooler who has the great responsibility of quickly transcribing the president's remarks and disseminating them to the rest of the world. And we will add outlets to the print pool rotation who have long been denied the privilege to partake in this experience, but are committed to covering this White House beat. We will continue to rotate a radio pooler and add other radio hosts who have been denied access, especially local radio hosts who serve as the heartbeat of our country. And we will add additional outlets and reporters who are well suited to cover the news of the day and ask substantive questions of the President of the United States, depending on the news he is making on that given day.
Let's go, baby. Let's go. Okay, now, check this out. Okay, this is it. For decades, the White House Correspondents Association controlled access to the president, blocking independent America First voices from the room. Now, President Trump giving power back to the people. Legacy media will no longer have a monopoly. That's a photograph I took when I was there in the press room. Under this bold new system, legacy outlets will still participate, but for the first time ever, independent media, local radio, streaming platforms will have access, and we are proud to announce that the Next News Network is officially credentialed White House news outlet. Here's another photograph I took in that press room, man. It was packed and it was hot that day in that room. The mainstream media meltdown is already happening. They know what this means. No more protected narratives, no more scripted questions, no more censorship. The WHCA's reign is over. President Trump is restoring real transparency to the White House. Here's myself. And this is when the Prime Minister of India was about to arrive. This is just outside the White House. And now the press pool will include independent voices, local radio hosts, and outlets long ignored by the WHCA. For years, legacy media dictated the narrative, shutting out alternative perspectives that ends today. The People's Press is now in the room. Here's me in the back of the press room. Angie took that picture. And it was I was actually talking to our producer, Todd, about the day's production and what we were getting done there. And here's some more photos from inside the White House. Here's me and the press secretary right there. Here is me and Tom McCullough. He is our Next News correspondent as well. And here is Angie and I, also a correspondent. So we have a lot of work ahead of us. And the media landscape is changing. And so is the White House press pool. The Correspondents Association no longer in control. The American people are. This is the most transparent administration in history. There is me and Tom right after Tom got his hard pass. So follow the Next News Network for up-to-the-minute breaking White House news. We're inside the White House bringing you the truth the mainstream media won't. The Trump era of press freedom has begun. And there I am. That is when I first arrived at the White House for my hard pass, and a glorious day that was. Zach Voorhees says, this is actually earth-shattering, like when the Berlin Wall fell down, but in America. Bob Paulson, this is awesome. This is a great move, Next News. But how is the MSM going to control the narrative if she's going to allow alternative media to present their points of view? Did anyone ask her why the FBI has been deleting the documents? Well, that's still being questioned. So we have more to get to on this front. Here is when President Trump roasted a fake news reporter in the Oval Office earlier today.
Corrupt. Mr. President, what do you say to people who worry that targeting an individual firm or individuals who aren't Jack Smith?
Excuse me, I've been targeted for 4 years, longer than that. So you don't tell me about targeting. I was the target of corrupt politicians for 4 years, and then 4 years after that. So don't talk to me about targeting.
President Trump correcting the narrative in real time. And here's Karoline Leavitt. Okay. Now, Peter Baker put this out on X after this announcement was made today. Having served as a Moscow correspondent in the early days of Putin's reign, this reminds me of how the Kremlin took over its own press pool and made sure only compliant journalists were given access. Well, Karoline Leavitt said, give me a break. Moments after you tweeted this, the president invited journalists into the Oval Office to questions for nearly an hour. Your hysterical reaction to our long overdue and much needed change to an outdated organization is precisely why we made it. Gone are the days where left-wing stenographers posing as journalists such as yourself dictate who gets to ask what. Boom, mic drop right there. Okay, Sean Spicer had this reaction. He called it amazing news. The press secretary announcing the press office taking back charge, who was in part of the White House press pool. As you know, Sean Spicer was once the press secretary under the previous Trump administration. He said, if you are a member of the WHCA, you might want to direct blame towards your current president, Politico Eugene Daniels, who probably invited a Trump-hating comedian to their annual leftist elitist dinner. Yeah, that makes sense. Oh, here we have this. President Trump talking about the AP, roasting the AP.
We're going to be now calling those shots. As you know, we won that lawsuit right there. See the Gulf of America, which is a beautiful name. Most people agree. I don't know. It's, AP has been terrible. I think they're radical left. I think they're third-rate reporters. I know the specific young lady that works on the account is terrible. She's a a radical left lunatic as far as I'm concerned. They don't treat us fairly. That's number one. And number two, they had no right to do that. This is the Gulf of America. We're going to be now calling those shots.
President Trump making sure that the truth is presented in that White House now. Jackie Heinrich, she is the senior White House correspondent, podcast host, and anchor at Fox News, WHCA board, Capitol Hill 2020 campaign trail alum, three-time Emmy award-winning reporter. Here she is, Jackie Heinrich. You've probably seen her on Fox. She had this to say. She said this, and she was obviously posting. She was reacting to Karoline Leavitt, who said a group of D.C.-based journalists, the White House Correspondents, has long dictated which journalists get to ask questions. Well, those days are over. She said this move does not give the power back to the people. It gives power to the White House. The White House Correspondents Association is democratically elected by the full-time White House press corps, blah, 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 blah. Well, I did respond to her, and I simply said, see you in the pool. Yeah, we'll see you there, Caroline. And Jackie Heinrich. Here is, excuse me. This is Karoline Leavitt talking with Megyn Kelly about the Democrat press.
Can we talk about it, the Associated Press?
Sure, I'd love to.
Is it censorship to tell them they can't go into the Oval or on Air Force One?
Their argument that this administration is not standing up for the First Amendment is preposterous. You have a president of the United States who, within hours of taking the oath of office, welcomed journalists into the most intimate corner of the American presidency, the Oval Office, to ask him questions for more than an hour on every topic under the sun. He has done that on a near daily basis, and when he's not doing that because he's too busy with meetings, even though he'd love to do it every day, I, as his press secretary, am out there. We have administration officials going to the cameras every single day. They are hearing from this White House and this admin. Their transparency is off the charts. And the Associated Press still has their White House credentials. They still have a seat in the press briefing room. They are still welcome to cover this administration. But nobody has a right to enter the Oval Office. It is a privilege to cover the United States. And I said it in my first briefing. We are going to hold people accountable that push lies. And the president believes deeply that American news outlets should be reporting the truth about the Gulf of America. And that's not all with the Associated Press's style book.
Oh, no.
I mean,
don't get me started.
They don't even want to call women mothers. They want to call us birthing people. You know, they removed Hamas from their style book for some very odd reason. I have a whole list. It's actually in my purse. I carry it around with me as a souvenir everywhere of all of the crazy things in the AP style book. So, look, they are welcome to cover this White House, and there are hundreds of outlets on that campus who show up every day in good faith to cover this administration with accuracy and truthfulness that don't have the privilege of being in the Oval Office every single day because they're not the AP. Well, guess what? We're going to start giving those media outlets a seat at the table. They deserve to be in front of the Resolute desk asking the President of the United States questions. What gives the AP greater privilege than?
No, nothing should.
Nothing.
If they would behave the way they behaved 50 years ago, maybe they would still have their seat. But if you look at what's happened to them over the past 10 years, it's been complete leftist, radical capture. Can we talk?
So I guess it's only a matter of time before I am asking a question in front of that Resolute desk. I look forward to that moment. Here we have the winning continues at the White House Rapid Response 24 hours ago, talking about that federal judge.
And the winning continues here at the White House every day. Today, a federal judge right here in Washington, D.C., denied the Associated Press's emergency request for a temporary restraining order to restore their privilege of returning to the White House press pool. And the judge's denial of the Associated Press's request reinforces what I said from the podium last week and what President Trump has been saying. Covering the American press presidency in the most intimate and limited spaces in this White House, in the Oval Office, on the Air Force One, is a privilege. It is not a legal right. And we want all voices to have that opportunity. And that's why we've expanded the James S. Brady briefing room to invite truly legitimate, independent journalists, podcasters, and other media types into that room to cover this president with honesty and accuracy and with real mindfulness of what the American people actually care about. And the winning can.
And we have a reaction right now that just came in from the White House Correspondents Association. Jordan Schachel says the White House Correspondents Association is an ideological cartel that excluded outlets based on conformity to their narratives. They can cry free press all they want. It's simply not true. The White House is creating the conditions for a more free press. So here it is, Eugene Daniels posting the official announcement. Let's see, this move tears. This is what they say. This move tears at the independence of a free press in the United States. It suggests the government will choose the journalists who cover the president. In a free country, leaders must not be able to choose their own press corps. For generations, the working journalists elected to lead the White House Correspondents Association board have consistently expanded the WHCA membership and its pool rotations to facilitate the inclusion of new and emerging outlets. Okay, well then, why have I not received a response to my application that I paid $90 for? Yeah, I'm still waiting. It's been days. Yeah. Since its founding in 1914, the WHCA has sought to ensure that reporters, photographers, producers, and technicians who actually do the work 365 days of every year decide amongst themselves how these rotations are operated so as to ensure consistent professional standards and fairness and access on behalf of all readers, viewers, and listeners. To be clear, the White House did not give the WHCA board a heads up or have any discussion about today's announcements, but the WHCA will never stop advocating for comprehensive access, full transparency, and the right of the American public to read, listen, and watch reports from the White House delivered without fear or favor. Eugene Daniels, White House Correspondents Association president. Yeah, when I was in that press room and I took this photograph, okay, I'm going to tell you what happened. When I was in that room, because it's where's the picture? Here's the picture. I just had it up here. Well, anyway, what happened? I was taking the picture. Here it is. Okay, so see this alongside that wall right there. This was the first time I was there. You see those there's like two banks of like technical computer stuff and broadcasting equipment, and then just in front of that is like a bench, and that is where all of the photographers park. Now I was standing just to the right of that. It was a packed room, and you could see where I was standing. I was up against the wall, and I had my camera, my phone, on a gimbal. And it was up on the gimbal has an extender on a stick, and then it was also on a tripod. And somebody from the pool, camera operators, came up to me rather aggressively, and he said, "I just got a text from the WHCA. You can't have this tripod here." And it was just like seconds before Karoline Leavitt came out those doors. And it was a clear attempt to get me flustered, make me lose my shot. And I mean, when you're in a very cramped space and you've got to deal with technical equipment, you're wearing an overcoat, it's freezing outside, there's no place to really put your stuff. It can get very, very stressful. So I quickly broke down my tripod. I folded it up, put it back in my case, disconnected the gimbal, extended it up, and held it back to where it was positioned when the tripod was there. And I looked over at the guy, and I go, and just looked, and he looked at me, and he checked. He was checking to see, because he saw that my camera and my gimbal were still elevated in a position that I was still able to get the shots over everybody's heads. Clearly, he didn't want me there. He was intimidating me, using the White House Correspondents Association as his cudgel. But I held my frickin' camera, I got the shot, and I won the frickin' day. Okay? And then later on that day, the same guy, what did he do? I followed Caitlin Collins into the East Room following the press photographers, got right to the front of the East Room, and I got the shots with President Trump and Tiger Woods, and that same photographer standing on a ladder. See, they set up an entire wall of people in front of you. These photographers stand on ladders, and all these other reporters. Tom McCullough was next to me. I had Epoch Times. I had Lindell TV. Kara was there. Travis from Epoch Times. They were standing right next to me. They couldn't do anything. Like, they were completely neutered. They had no opportunity to ask questions or even see what the president was doing. All they could do was hear. But what did we do? Because we're smart, we're nimble, we're faster than they are, we have better technology, and we're smarter. Okay? What did we do? Tom pulled out his stick, attached his DJI Pocket 3 camera on the stick, and stuck it up in the sky over the freaking reporters who had created a wall in front of us trying to block us from getting the shot. We got the shot. And as other reporters are snickering because we got this tiny little camera and we're the new kids on the block, we're the new faces there, and we got premium placement right there at the front of the room, even though we were blocked behind these reporters, we got the shot. They laughed at us until they saw what we did. We got the shot. We won. We posted the video on our channel. You can watch it. So they can try all they want to push us around and intimidate us. But today, Karoline Leavitt just completely neutered the White House Correspondents Association. So the next time these guys want to come up to me and tell me the White House Correspondents Association said this, well, guess what? Who are they? Who are they? Oh, yes, my friends. This is a new era, and I'm here for it. And you guys are along for the ride. We have more. Let's continue. Let's see what else we've got here. Okay. Let's take a look. Press Secretary on the press pool reforms.
Vote against your ruling by Judge McFadden yesterday, who dismissed the lawsuit that AP brought against yourself and your team members here, President Trump. In there, he said, why not just do away with the entire White House Correspondents Association along with it, because essentially they have no authority. They just usurped it. What is your reaction to that?
Well, first of all, John, it's great to see you. And you are one of those individuals who has you're on a streaming platform that hundreds of thousands of people tune into every day. So it's great to see you in the briefing room. I did address that actually in my opening remarks by announcing that the White House press team in this administration will determine who gets to enjoy the very privileged and limited access in spaces such as Air Force One and the Oval Office. There are, as you know, look at this room, hundreds of journalists who show up to this building every single day and are not granted that luxury of flying on Air Force One and asking the President of the United States questions. And so we want to ensure, again, everyone has a seat at that highly coveted table. But alas, the legacy media outlets who have been doing this for quite some time and have invested resources into covering the White House, their spots will remain, just like they have in this briefing room as well.
Yeah, maybe I'll go on Air Force One next, too. How about that? Would you guys like to see that? Looks like Whoopi's on a tear. Brandon Tatum writing, Karoline Leavitt pisses Whoopi off on The View because she won't tolerate wokeness.
Homework. I would like this young lady this is her first job, I would like her to do a little homework. Because she said something yesterday that really pissed me off. And that was, she said, there will be no wokeness here.
Oh, yeah.
Let me explain something to you. Because without that wokeness, you might not have that job.
Yeah.
Because women were not invited to that table. Women were not invited to many tables in this nation. The reason we fought and busted our behinds to make sure that you didn't have to worry about this. And now to hear you talk about it and to hear anybody talk about the wokeness was put in place for a reason. Because black people couldn't get into colleges. Because women could not get into the colleges they wanted to go to. This is all women. Yeah. See, this is not black, Asian women. This is all women. Women were not invited to this party. It was a man's world, and we busted our asses to make sure that this was a person's world. So please stop using that phrase and talking about because you don't.
Okay, Whoopi. Enough of that. Oh, man. Here we have, as you know, Joy Reid is out, right? Yeah, she's out. We got some reaction on that. Let's go to Peter Navarro. Bats down the fake news lie.
In the media, this nonsense from the Financial Times is a product of a culture in the media where they report stories and never name their sources. And my view is that we should never have to comment on any story where it's based on unnamed sources. Have you ever noticed that? Okay, that was just crazy stuff. We would never, ever jeopardize our national security, ever, with allies like Canada, ever. So please stop doing that. And I have proposed, and I hope somebody's hearing me, that we just don't pay any attention to any questions that are based on anonymous sources.
Yep, the fake news is dying. Joyless Ann Reed, how does she ever make it this long? Oh, my goodness. Do we? Okay.
You fixate the race lady. Why would they call me that? Is this really about me fixating on race, or is it about you fixating on race?
But Donald Trump wants to never let black and brown folk up off the mat.
Evident what they mean by DEI, right?
Why not just say what you mean? You can't stand black people. We get it. You've been heard.
Are you committed to naming a black woman as your vice presidential running mate?
They wanted to go after the brown people, too, because, of course, that is their other target.
You feel joy?
That's about all I can take from Joy Reid. A judge siding with Donald Trump blocking AP from the Oval Office briefings. Here we have Megyn Kelly talking about why Joy Reid is out.
But it was off. We just pulled the ratings from Thursday night. On Thursday night, this is in the 25 to 54 demo. I mean, this is just unbelievable. Like, truly, when I was at Fox, a bad night in the demo would be in the threes, 300 and change. But it was often 600,000, 700,000 and change. In the demo, those are now the overall numbers, the total audience numbers on a great number for most of cable news. Here's her demo number from Thursday night. 59,000. She was 4,000 away from Slashy's, which is 9,000, which is 50,000. She was 59,000. That's what she got in the overall demo. She lost to her competitor on CNN, who had 104,000. Lost to Laura Ingraham, who had 389,000. Lost the whole ratings race inside MSNBC, where their great white hope, Jen Psaki, who's taking over now at 9. This is all part of a reshuffling. She got 65,000 in the key demo.
I get more views than that on YouTube. And that is why we are at the table now. And that's why we are in a new media landscape. Rachel Maddow ripping MSNBC for firing Joy Reid, having a total meltdown.
You may have already... I'm going to take a little point of personal privilege here just for a moment, if it is okay with you. You may have already heard about changes that have been announced at MSNBC over the last couple of days. The new president of our network made it official today. Some of our shows are moving to different time slots or expanding or going away altogether. In prime time, just so you know, I am here 5 days a week for the first 100 days of Trump's presidency, as planned. And as planned, I will go back to just Mondays after that. That is not changing. What is changing is that the show, Alex Wagner Tonight, is not coming back at 9 after the first 100 days. Instead, Alex will be a senior political analyst for MSNBC, and Jen Psaki will start hosting the 9 p.m. hour all the other nights.
Okay, whatever. No one watches you guys anyway. Elon Musk is going to buy you, and then the party's going to be even bigger, right? So not surprisingly, the legacy media is throwing a collective tantrum over all these changes. Don Lemon recently told Megyn Kelly to go F herself in a public meltdown that perfectly illustrates the impotence of the old guard. They're watching their power evaporate in real time, and they can't handle it. And the changes come as MSNBC's Joy Reid has been fired with her show canceled due to abysmal ratings. Even Democrat pollster Frank Luntz admitted on CNN the Democrats are wrong by talking about resistance against Trump because the public doesn't want resistance. By opening press access to a more diverse range of outlets such as Next News Network, President Trump is ensuring Americans get a more complete picture of what's happening in Washington. This is about breaking the information monopoly that has distorted American politics for generations. The question remains, do mainstream media outlets deserve preferential access that they've enjoyed for decades, or is it time for fresh voices in the White House press corps? If you're not following us on X, if you're not subscribed to our channel, you need to do so right now. Make sure you don't miss any of our White House coverage. And grab your exclusive gear, your Next News gear, in our merch shop. It's linked down below, shop.nextnewsnetwork.com. Grab a hat, grab a shirt, grab that MAG Avengers hat up there, get the gear, and show the world you stand with the real media.